So thank you everybody for joining us. Good morning or good evening or good day, wherever you're calling from. Normally we have people not only from London, so figured it would be good to say hi to everywhere, regardless of where you are in the world right now. We're really excited to have this event, bringing this event to you today. As you can see, and from the invite, we probably are, or we are having a different kind of setup than normally. We thought we would try something new. All right, so here's the agenda. Doing the intro now, of course, and the welcome. We're going to start shortly with a dashboard demo. And then we're going to have the panel discussion and also, as I said, the spotlight. You can see down here, we have some amazing speakers. We're going to have Radhika to start with, do a demo. And then we have Rita, Daniel, and Cristina ask, or as part of our panel around dashboard design. So start getting your questions in. And then at the end, we have Arthur, who's one of our brilliant product managers at Salesforce, focusing around the dashboard designer in Tableau CRM. All right, we actually have a little fun thing for you. So that's why I put this slide in. That's not the slide that, or the fun part, forward-looking statement slide, because we are looking at some features that might be coming. So if you are looking to make any purchasing decision, please base those on what is currently available in the product, okay? So I'm sure Arthur will show you that one later as well. But what I do want to, the reason why I want to put this is because we're going to play a little fun vote. So right now, the product team is actually looking at new features they want to bring in for, I think it must be summer. We're working with numbers, but I believe it's summer of next year. And I had a chat with Arthur earlier, and we thought, let's do a little poll of what you think would be interesting. So let me see if I can get the polling option up. And I'm going to launch this poll, and we're going to pick up this later. But basically what we want is for you to give in your feedback, which one of these features that would be most interesting for you. So first of all, the font markup, the ability to do bold, italic, that sort of stuff, copy paste functionality across dashboards and apps. And finally, chart themes. So the ability to apply custom themes to your charts. And we're getting some features, or getting some results in here. So I'm going to keep it open just for a little while longer. I will close it, and then we will return to this poll later on in the presentation.
So yeah, first up tonight we have the wonderful Radhika Bansal, who is a technical architect at Accenture, who is going to give us a demo.
Hi everyone, Radhika this side. I'll start sharing my screen, just a second. I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, we can.
Cool. Thank you everyone for joining today's event. I'm glad you are here. Little bit about me. I work as a technical architect at Accenture, UK, and my Twitter handle is Radhika Bansal SF. I've been into this community since 7 years now, and I totally love it. I would like to thank Ricky, Ines, and Will for the opportunity to let me present in this amazing group. So let's get started. Today's session is about more of how to use reports and dashboards more with the help of Einstein Analytics. Like everyone knows what's a report, what is a report and a dashboard, and but we often feel like, what's the use of Einstein Analytics? Why do we need to use it, right? When we can almost do something with reports and dashboards itself. Well, I would say that yeah, though reports and dashboards are quite influential and quite worthy enough to use it. Like we can use so many things. We can create filters and reports and create numerous types of dashboards and graphs and all that stuff. But there must be something in Einstein that makes it so worthy enough, so unique, right? So let me show you that. So let's think about what's Einstein Analytics. Well, Einstein Analytics can be divided broadly into three parts. If you might be aware about Einstein Analytics, you might have heard the words like app or a lens or a query or a conversational query. But if you haven't and you are a beginner, then it's the best time to start. And today I'm gonna give you a demo on how to use Einstein Analytics, like how you can kickstart Einstein Analytics, or better, I should say that why do you need to kickstart your journey in Einstein Analytics? So before wasting some more time, let's get started with a demo on it. So I'll share my screen with my presentation demo. So I am here in my Einstein Analytics studio. Actually, this is an Trailhead org. Simply, you can get it from your Trailhead account. It's quite easy. And when you get it, then you will get Einstein Analytics enabled in your org. To go to your Einstein Analytics, you need to go to Setup and then click on the App Launcher. And once you click on the App Launcher, you can click on Analytics Studio. And here you go, you are in your Einstein Analytics view. In this Analytics Studio, you can see all your items, your favorites and all that stuff, and my analytics and the dashboards created by you. So let's get started into a dashboard which I have already created for this demo purpose, which is my amazing dashboard. So I can show you here quite widgets, but you might be wondering what's the use of it, or how are they created, or what's the speciality of it more than a dashboard, right? I mean, your questions are worthy enough, and it's quite healthy to think about it. But let me tell you something more. So this is a stacked dashboard or a chart where you can see that the division is made by a count of rows and the number of industries. Whereas in the industry, I have categorized it in more into a product family. And in the product family, you can see every count here. So within a small chart itself, you can see based on the industry, what's the product family the product is working more on, and what's the count going on, or what's the best thing going on. For an example, if your client is seeking towards an answer where he's looking forward for which product or which market is growing faster in a particular industry or in UK or in particular area, then the stack chart is the best for it. In order to create this chart, let's do some work. So let me go to my Analytics Studio and create a dashboard for you quickly. So I am here in my create and I'll click on dashboard and I'll choose create blank dashboard. And no, I did something wrong. I'll first create an app and then I'll add a data set into it. So sorry for that. So demo app, let's create that. So here I am and I have created a demo app, but it's quite lonely, right? So let's go and add some data set into it. So I'll go to my browse all items, and in the data set, I have several data sets given to me. So let me choose one data set and I'll choose, suppose DTC opportunity. Now I am landed with some default chart here, but let me add something more into it. So I'll click on industry, and I can see that my chart got divided by industries, but I would like to add some product family also. So I'll go and add product family. And I can see here that my industry is divided by my product family. And in order to divide my chart into multiple sectors, I have my stack chart, my vertical stack, my horizontal stack, all that stuff. So as soon as I click on this and I do this, I can save this in my private app, which was suppose demo app, and then I'll save this by my name, opportunities, and click save. And then I'll clip this into my dashboard. So I'll write my opportunity and I'll select click to designer. So once I click to designer, then if I go to my demo app, I can see my titles as opportunities here, and I can see my dashboard added to it. Similarly, I can add more items in my dashboard, which could be my table chart, my conversational query, all that stuff. So the items that I explained before in my presentation, which was like, sorry, this wasn't, like app and lens, then we can add some widgets and queries, and we can add conversational query as well. Now, what do we mean by conversational query? Well, conversational query is a feature by Einstein in which they give you a query in itself where you can you can just write like 10 opportunities by top 10 opportunities by amount name, or top 10 opportunities which are working best in their industries, something similar to that. Like it can happen just by clicking on this icon. So show conversational. And then we can add our data set into this. So let me pause, hide this. And you can see that my DTC opportunity data set is added here. If I want to have some conversation with my data set, for an example, like top 10 opportunities or top 10 close date, or top 10 billing state province. So let's say top 10 billing state province. And once I can see that, I can add this in my data dashboard itself so that I can have any conversation. This is called conversational queries, where I can add my list widget here. And if I click on this list widget, I can add that query, like which I didn't save before. But yeah, this query, which I can mark it to clip to dashboard. And once I clip it to dashboard, it get added in my list here. And it's saved as opportunity name 2 here. And no, this one it is, billing state province. And then I can drag my query here, and I can see all my graph which I pulled before. So as simple as that, I can query my conversation, like just ask the Einstein, what do I want to know? And then add that query in the table and then click on save. And that's it. Just add this query to your demo app and click on save. And here you go. You can see it by billing state province. And all that you want to do, you can do like simply writing here, top 10 conversational queries, or top 10, or anything, not just top 10, but anything you feel like you can add as a conversation. Now, if you want to do the work on this conversation as well, you can also make it colorful. For an example, you can even show it in colors, just like in dashboards you want to see. If you want to highlight the opportunity sum of amounts which are greater than 5 lakhs, or the amount that are less than 5 lakhs, then you can make it colorful by, or indicate it by color, by do conditional formatting and adding a rule. So if you specify here something like this and add color here, for an example, dark red, and then your opportunity is less than 5 lakhs is good to go, and you are not worried about it. So edit in green and then click on apply. One second. Oh, okay. Yeah, there was one missing. So you can immediately see the difference. You don't need to even save it to see the effects you are applying here. Just like by clicking on it, and immediately you see that there is a color difference, and that's what you can show to your client when they want to see the view by color difference. Similarly, there could be other color applied to this, and you can also apply something, other widgets. So coming back to the presentation, these features are only available in Einstein. And once you start using Einstein, you feel like you would like to know more about it. Apart from this, there are some more advantages to it, like Einstein discovery, Einstein prediction, and Einstein next best action. So if you are in your widget and your customer is having some problems in your so if you are having a client which saying that, okay, I'm not able to wonder why my sales are going down or something in a particular region, so you can recommend them Einstein discovery that could help you by discovering what's the reason behind the problem by analyzing your data set and giving you the solution. So all that can happen on your analytics itself and could give you the decision by based on Einstein AI, that why or a particular reason the sales is going down based on the data that you enter. Then based on the prediction, they can predict that, okay, if you don't use A project, but you use B project, then it could work better in that particular area. And that help or that suggestion is a prediction by Einstein that can improve your sales. And in the end, when the sales are improving, you can also suggest them, you can use, okay, you can A, B, and then this work. Now you can use C product to help analyze your work or go better with it. So all these things you can use better on your Einstein Analytics, and which wasn't present before Einstein came into picture in reports and dashboards. So once you start using Einstein Analytics, based on more requirement, you can use all these things and then improve your business in business by using AI in it. Well, that's what I want to give you a brief introduction about it and about using Einstein Analytics. If you have any questions, then I'm open to answer.
Oh, thanks, Radhika. Well, on time. We still have 5 minutes from the 20, so I will kick off with the first question. So if we have in mind the theme of like designing a dashboard, as you show us, there is multiple different widgets that you can have and styles and whatever else. So how do you approach the design? When do you do you have some kind of things that you always put at the top, or how, in terms of designing something that is easy, repeatable, and consumable for your users? What is your style? How do you decide which chart where, or when do you do like a number widget over other things? Any tips?
Yeah, it's a good question. So most of my style is always classic. So not like Salesforce classic, but elegance. So I used to be an old school person, and I always go for some charts which can depict more information in a little view itself, such that user can feel homely and friendly. What they are seeing is not very different. So I always used to go for some bar charts or pie charts in my analytics, where I can give more information in less view. Does it answer the question?
Yes, thanks. Sorry, I was just checking if any other questions are in the subject. Anybody? Okay, all right. Well, thanks very much, Radhika, to give us this overview. What's next?
Thank you.
Radhika, thank you very much. That was awesome. That was an awesome presentation. Thank you. So, guys, the second part of our the second part of our meetup tonight, so second 20. We are joined by 3 dashboard dazzlers who are going to be taking us through how we're going to be having a discussion based on all around dashboard design. So rather than just reading out everything on screen, I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves. So get handy with the mute button, guys. Rita, would you like to start us off? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and yourselves, your Salesforce journey.
Yeah, sure. First of all, hi everyone. Pleasure as well to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting Rika, Will, Ines. Congrats on your book. Came out of nowhere that you're an author. A bit of the surprise right there, but congrats. So my journey with Salesforce started 6 years ago when I split up with the banking. But in banking and finance, as you can imagine, data is in the forefront. A Salesforce ecosystem was growing and Salesforce consultants were rare to find. I think we were chucked everywhere. I share a bit of a similar journey, I guess, with Rika, where we've been in a similar SI positions where you don't have a choice until you do have a choice. So a few years ago, I did have an amazing opportunity of starting analytics and AI practice in our UK office. So I head up that practice and trying to share my passion that so many answers can be answered if people would be just willing to look into them and just grasp those values. So yeah, that's a bit about me, because otherwise I'm going to take all the spotlight and probably the next 10 minutes to tell you more detail. So I'm hoping that soon the lockdown will be over, and at least with the UK and the London tribe, we will meet and chin with those beers again.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rita. Your passion is just amazing. I just love listening to your passion. Daniel, perhaps give us a bit introduction to yourself. Where are you joining?
Yeah. I'm Daniel from Frankfurt in Germany. I'm a Salesforce MVP, certified at almost everything in the Salesforce ecosystem, including Einstein Analytics. And my Salesforce journey started when I stopped trying to write a book to keep that theme up. I used to be a doctoral fellow in history before I turned my back to IT and joined a company called die.interaktiven in Germany to become the lead of their Salesforce practice. And one of the first products my boss bought to keep me entertained was a product called Wave Analytics. And this is where I started taking the then white belt, green belt, brown belt, etc. trainings. So then Einstein Analytics, Wave became Einstein Analytics, and then Einstein Analytics became Tableau CRM. And yes, here I am. I'm one of the inaugural class of the Einstein Analytics champions as well.
Excellent. Excellent. And last but by no means least, we have Cristina joining us as well.
Hi everyone, Cristina here. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this amazing presentation. I've started back in 2013 in the Salesforce ecosystem. I started as a developer, and 4 years ago, I've got the opportunity to discover the power of analytics. I've worked on numerous projects, and I wanted to share the power of this product to all the clients that I'm working with. So super excited to be part of the analytics team.
Perfect. Thank you. So as we saw from Radhika's demonstration this morning, dashboards have to start somewhere. So first kind of question I wanted to put to the panel is like, how do you start dashboards? Do you have some kind of starting point in mind? Rita, do you want to answer that one? Rita, you're on mute.
Sorry.
No, you're not.
Clearly wasn't. Yeah, from my side, it's interesting how, especially consultants, I think, and the people who want to help always try to jumpstart and build something. And I think this is the first thing that I would like to mention to everyone who has been for a long time in analytics versus the one who are just onboarding, that surprisingly data visualization do not start with the data visualization. So that's the strong fact. So how do you then approach this? So the simple is you need to really start to understand for who are you trying to create this? Who is that person at the other end of your screen? What do they try to find out? What are their questions that they need to get answered? And then once you understand that big objectives of what you need to help them to do, then starting to look into the data and availability of it, starting to create the plan. But also I would like to quickly mention, what I really like is that people underestimating how visuals are working with our system. And I just want you to take away something that I would like you to do your own research on. That, as you may know, even in Einstein Analytics, there's so many types of visuals. But something to look at is how those visuals are interacting with our verbal or visual system. So very few people are actually thinking about it like that when they're thinking also about the personas. But in the sense that majority of our lovely pie charts, bar charts, they're working with our visual system, which means that we actually process them faster. But you always have had this client, or potentially in the future, you will know a person who will ask you for continuous tables. And you may not understand why don't they want your beautiful pie chart or the graph or a map. It's just because the way how they are consuming information is different. And it actually works with their verbal system. So this type of people are your typical finance representative. Don't want to put anyone in the boxes, but it's the people who really love to read and understand the information. And in order to do that, they would literally take their finger and start to look at the information line by line, why this doesn't match something that has been on the Excel spreadsheet. So that would be my takeaway, right? The main thing, it doesn't start with the data visualization. Understand who, how, why. And then think about how do you think this person would like an information to be consumed, and have a look at the verbal and visual system.
Cool. Okay. Thank you, Rita. I'm going to sort of follow on, and perhaps Cristina, perhaps if you could. And I noticed a lot of nodding going on camera. So, on how, do you have any advice on how dashboards should look like? How do you sort of section or slice areas, pages in your dashboard for your audience?
Yeah, totally agree. Sorry, totally agree with Rita. Is always trying to figure out why you're building the dashboard, what you're trying to achieve, what is the user struggling with the most before you starting to put together how you actually build the framework, and what you should consider adding into your dashboard. But another thing that it's really important is to understand the data volume that you actually working with, and what different personas are actually using the dashboard for, when you decide if you have to create multiple one or the same dashboard, but to show different visualization or things like this. So these are another things and factors to consider from my point of view. Excellent.
Daniel, would there be anything else that you would follow on to what we've heard Rita and Cristina talk about?
Well, one very nice starting point for designing dashboards is actually Salesforce used to have kind of sketchbooks that they handed out on Dreamforce 2019, and I took a lot of them to distribute them in my team, because these show you how to give you ideas how to visually design dashboards. So that's a good starting point. I wish I could find them on the success community, but I'm pretty sure that Ricky can help you with that, because they are or were available as PDFs. So it's definitely worth looking at them. When I start building something, I typically try to find out if there's kind of key metric that the customer wishes to drive. And this key metric typically is the centerpiece of what I built, like the North Star of the dashboard that gives you an indicator what should actually happen and what is it that you want to achieve. So I make this more or less, it's typically it's either a time series chart or or just a number metric, but this is the centerpiece that I put somewhere, and I don't put it in the center, but it's somewhere up in the right hand corner for my dashboards most of the time, so that you make the perfect dimensions, perfect golden cut. The most important thing, I'm kind of coming from old school screen design and print design. And the thing that is most important to me is to keep everything important above the fold. That comes from print design. When you have a newspaper and fold it in and fold it, the most important headline is above the fold of that newspaper. This is also true for screen design. Above the fold means you don't have to scroll to see the key information. So if the dashboard has too much information that goes somewhere where you have to scroll to see it, you're definitely doing it wrong. So I keep everything important above the fold, and typically below the fold, that's the end of the dashboard. So you don't want users to scroll.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Guys, I'm just going to now to ask you, what are your sort of most used features, dashboard features, and why are they used? Daniel, can I start with you on that one, and then I'll move back to the girls?
Yeah, I'm pretty nerdy in these things. Through Einstein Analytics, I discovered windowing functions on databases, which was kind of completely inaccessible to me in the past. And seeing what you can do with windowing functions, I keep on using them over and over and over again. And the other thing is bindings. Ricky knows what I'm talking about, because I always come back to her blog and then give her a reference, because she outlined how to do bindings before the advanced query editor came up. So bindings and advanced queries is definitely the thing that I use so often, and it creates such amazing effects for your dashboards. It's just the one tool to build killer analysis, and you can just swap out the groupings, you can reset groupings, you can swap out the fields that you want to summarize, and that's really a go-to key feature. And time series, probably. Time series is cool because you can kind of look into the future.
Awesome, awesome. Cristina, what do you enjoy? What do you most use?
I've used it in bindings for sure. It's super powerful, but to be honest with you, I try to keep things as simple as possible. I try to avoid using any customization, because sometimes if you are with a client for 3-6 months and then you use the most complex features, then if the clients needs to make any changes or if they want to add something extra to the dashboard, they have to call you back, or they have to get someone that has some expertise in the analytics. So for them, it's getting a bit difficult to keep the dashboards up to date or to improve them with time. So again, I repeat myself, I try to keep the things as simple as possible. I try to avoid using any customization. But what I like the most is that with analytics, you can discover out of the box things every single day. So the most recent thing I've discovered that when you use a Salesforce direct object in an Einstein Analytics, you can actually add filter without writing custom SQL code or something like that. So
nice.
yeah, it's again, it's a super powerful thing, tool, and as long as you keep it clean and not very complicated, you end up with a very powerful and simple dashboard.
Cool.
Should
Rita?
I add the same? Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound like a broken record being the last, but definitely bindings. However, I would love kind of the audience take away what Cristina message was, like, try to stay standard as much as possible. You know, don't try to overcomplicate things unless it's really necessary. But yes, binding, I do find they can be tricky to establish sometimes. But they do offer, you know, powerful insight, and also, you know, helping actually to save visualization space, going back to the dashboard design, right? Otherwise, you would have to create all of this individual visualization as, you know, in the type that you would need. But here you can just save that space and give that united feeling to the end user. Which ultimately is the aim, right, of simplifying that analysis and those insights for the end users. So yeah, and also, of course, they are extremely helpful when you're able to include the references, such as the result bindings, of the average of a particular insights. But initially, let's follow Cristina's advice to stay away from SACL and bindings, and then follow Rita's and Daniel's advice on the windowing and time series and bindings.
Cool. I'd like to pick out a couple of questions that have been raised in the chat. Touch on the subject of visualization before, and Prabat's asked, any tips about using colors in visualization? How much is too much? Daniel, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I just I typically when I try to start using colors, I typically fall back to use just a few colors, a handful or so. One good starting point is probably the way the default themes use their colors. If you look closer, there's not a lot of color in there. It's different colors, but it's, I think, 4 or 5 colors. And if you look to the community experience builder in Salesforce, they typically give you a color scheme. And if you cheat a little bit and upload a picture that you like into experience builder in Salesforce, it gives you a color theme out of that picture, and you can simply copy and paste the color codes and use these 4 colors that you get out of the picture in your dashboard designs if you need inspiration. And there's a lot of tools from Adobe, etc., that build you color schemes that are not too. You don't want to look at like a box of candies or so. So as long as you don't build dashboards for a candy company or so. So I typically keep it as low key as possible. 3, a maximum of 4 colors for the main colors, right. And then probably colors in the bar charts for definitely, but the key colors should be 3, 4 at maximum.
Thank you. Another question we've had in is, do you have a series or a set of questions you start with when you start a dashboard project? Rita, I'll start. Do you want to take that one?
I do, definitely. Yes, we do have a template. Can I share them all? Probably not. But it all starts with what is, Mr. Customer, your main objectives, and then starting to drill down. And what's the further question that you would like to ask? So we are not yet covering, is something available, not available? Do we need to still collect it or not? But it constantly circles back to that who. So if you want to create yourself a set of questions, I would suggest to identify roughly around 5 to 7 of them. And they all should link to the KPI objectives and the insight that the end user, aka who, wants the answer to. And they are really, really simple questions, right? Don't overcomplicate. Typically, the end user or the person who will be answering, they will give you everything, and you actually tend to end up with more information than you desired, actually, because then that's where the staging, okay, Mr. Customer, that's very ambitious. Let's now kind of scale that back. What is the priorities? What is the must-have insight versus, you know, something that we can develop later? That would be from my side. Excellent,
excellent. So we just really got time for probably just one last question. I kind of want to get all three of you in on. So just for those that are, you know, keen and want to learn more and expand their skills, you know, what would be your top tips for learning, and what resources would you recommend for them? Cristina, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, sure. To be honest, what I found the most useful is the Trailhead. I think it's an amazing tool where you can start learning new skills, and the exercises for analytics, I think, are super, super good. There is a lot of different channels on YouTube. There's lots of blogs, Radhika's blog, and I'm sure there are others where you can find amazing demos and features. But what I think will be more powerful is for you to actually start trying to take like a data set that you are interested in. You can find online lots of different data sets you can export, and then take a subject that you love and then start playing with the data. See what you can do. See what charts will make your data powerful. Yeah, just play with the tool, because analytics, it will help you discover a lot of really super powerful stuff that you can do with.
Cool. We're pretty much out of time, but I'm just going to get perhaps just a kind of quick 1-word or 2-word answer from Rita and Daniel. What would be your tips and takeaways?
I would follow YouTube. There's a YouTube channel that I feel like exponentially increasing in the level of difficulty.
Yeah.
I'll share that in the chat.
I generally, this is how I got as well on board with some of the advanced functionality, where I actually followed, because sometimes it's hard, but then if you want to even pick up an extra challenge, I would try to follow those things, but with your own data set. With a data set that doesn't match the one that you see on the screen, where potentially you might need to, before reaching, let's say, a certain stage of creating some kind of binding that it's explained on the video, you need to perhaps change your data type or transform your field into something else. So try to complicate, but I really love that learning channel, to be honest. It's my personal favorite.
And Daniel, what's your last quick tip?
2 things. First things, try to do or dare to do the hard and tough things, and some are hard to understand indeed, but also look at the hard and tough things that you don't understand immediately. And second is, there are, once the COVID thing is over, there used to be amazing things like campfires and Analytics Academy, where you can get hands-on training in the analytics products, typically free and typically amazing, with amazing coaches. So get a hold of this once they're back with in-person training, because that's amazing.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. I think hopefully I haven't run too far over time. For everyone else who did ask questions, we will try and get answers to you in due course, either tonight or as follow-up.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So it was great to get some expert insight on some of those questions, and as Will said, there's a bunch still in the chat. So if any of you want to maybe look through the chat and already maybe do your replies in there as well, that would also be much appreciated. What else? I think let's go on to the next one, which is going to be Arthur. So we're lucky today to have Arthur join us. Arthur is one of our product managers at Tableau CRM, and hopefully he can unmute himself and perhaps do an introduction of who he is.
Thanks, Rita. Hopefully you guys can hear me. My name is Arthur. I'm a product manager at Salesforce. It's been a bit more than a year now. I'm almost a year and a half that I've joined Salesforce, and I've been loving it, every bit of it so far. It's been a fun ride working in analytics. Still feels a bit weird when you said it's Tableau CRM because it's still taking time to get used to it. But yeah, excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be chatting and some of your feedback and kind of seeing like the questions you're curious about and all of that stuff. So thanks.
And I think one thing that I wanted to just add that I'm not sure if people are aware, you are based in Paris actually. Plus,
yes.
We heard Daniel and well, also Rita and Cristina talk about bindings, and I think you had something to do with the advanced editor as well. So I think some people are excited about that.
True that. Yeah, so yeah, moved to two friends. So a bit easier to connect with you all in Europe.
Awesome. So everybody, if there's any kind of questions to Arthur, please shoot them in. We would be happy to answer those questions, or say we, but Arthur hopefully will be happy to share some of his knowledge around whatever you might ask him. Just to get started, right now, I'm sure you're working on a bunch of different features that are something that we can get to Tableau CRM users. I have to get used to it as well. Is there anything that you're working on that you are exceptionally excited about that you want to share with us?
For sure. So for the past, I would say almost 2 releases now, we've been working on an awesome feature that some of you might be aware of, and I've actually worked with you, Rita, to have a blog post on, which is called dashboard components. And so I'll actually share my screen in a little bit to kind of share more about it. But yeah, a lot of excitement around this feature. It took us quite some time because it's really complex. But yeah, it's an awesome feature for many reasons. Well, the first thing for me, it was great because it really touches all different aspects of dashboards. So it allowed me to learn a lot about just the dashboards, how they are, all the features that are used, whether it is like saved views, global filters, all the faceting interactions. So it really taught me a lot and kind of like helped me get to the level where I wanted to be and learn a lot. And also because I do think it's an innovation. It's not something that our competitors do. It really is kind of like a new concept. And lastly, I do think it will change how people build dashboards. And let me actually show you why. So let me
stop sharing, so you should be able to show the little demo.
Yep. All right, let me know when you can see it.
We can see it, yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, so the forward-looking statement, just flashing it right here, but basically make all your purchase decision based on what's currently available in the product. All right, so components, just a couple of slides and I'll jump into the demo. So what is it? It's the way you can envision it is kind of a container widget that has pages. So you can embed inside of it multiple widgets and you can create it, you can have pages. And the other thing that it's great for is that this new component can be actually reused across many dashboards, right? So the 2 use cases that we were looking to solve here were one, dynamic interactions, and I'll show you how with pages. And the second one is maintainability, right? So let me do a quick demo because I don't want to spend too much time. And so right here, you should be able to see my EA Studio. So still need to change this up to the CRM. But yeah, so on the left side, if you've noticed, you have this new widget, which is called a component widget. And what you can do is like any other widget, you can like drag and drop it. And then you have 2 options. You can either create a new component or reuse an existing one. And so once that's done, I'm just going to reuse an existing one to not take too much time here. But so in there, as you can see, you're able to create multiple pages, right? And what's cool about this is that it will first stop the whole issue with the 20, or help with the 20 page issue that some of you might face, because now you'll have more pages inside of those localized components that you can place inside of your dashboard. And secondly, it will allow you to create those rich interactions that you love so much, and that you've probably been creating them with bindings, as all of you guys were mentioning earlier. And so now, leveraging pages, you will be able to create those interactions. So let me actually go here. And so here I've embedded a component, and now when I'm here, I can just toggle through the different pages and visualize the data through different forms, right? Like here, I'm looking at the number of accounts per country. And then I can, like, just using pages, there's no binding behind this note. I'm just using the different pages of that component to visualize like the data now as a map, or changing the actual like grouping. Instead of looking at it per country, I'm looking at it here based on the industry, right? The other part that's really cool about components is that here, if you look at this, this is called marketing accounts. If I create a new dashboard, oh, not an app, but a dashboard, and I drag and drop this component, and I actually say, hey, I want to use marketing accounts. Well, I didn't have to do anything. And as you were saying a bit earlier, I think Rita mentioning that you like to start with templates. Well, that could be a great use of it, right? Like, instead of just reusing all the JSON, or you'll be able to kind of jumpstart the way you build dashboards, building those components and kind of having, like, you know, the filter header that you have on most of your dashboards, or the company logo that you want to place at the top of them. So yeah, really exciting feature. This is currently in pilots. So some of you might have actually participated in the pilot, or currently participating, and it will be going live in the next release, which is spring 21, if I didn't mess up the number. And yeah.
Yeah, no, this looks great. I think this is something a lot of people would be looking forward to. I think looking at the pages as well, when that was introduced, people really started taking that close to their heart and coming up with some creative solutions. So I think this should be really great as well. I wanted to just go in because now we're talking about roadmap, and if you know, Arthur, as well as I do, but our users might not be aware that we are currently actually looking at planning for the summer, as I said in the beginning. So I think let's just first of all go back. I'm going to see if I can share the results one more time. And basically, out of those 3 items that you mentioned earlier today when we chatted, it was the copy paste functionality that actually won. Is it how are you looking at all these different ideas that are coming from users and prioritizing the features you're putting into the product? What kind of thought process are you guys going through?
So this is a great question, and again, thank you all for participating to this kind of like fun poll. No matter how serious you think it is, it actually helps, and it has a lot of value for me, and for all the prioritizing exercise. So yeah, part of this is actually like what we've done here, like listening to you guys' input to kind of understand the needs, and also kind of like how strongly that those needs are, right? Like if I hear copy pasting like all the time, I for sure like will make sure it's prioritized properly. But yeah, so a lot of listening, kind of meeting with the customers, trying to understand the issues, and also trying to group things together, right? So if you probably noticed, when I joined and for the past couple of releases, there was a lot of efforts on making things easy and easier to do, making the dashboard authoring easier, and trying to kind of go away from bindings a little bit. So with the dynamic ref line, the dynamic text widget, the advanced editor you mentioned earlier, So kind of grouping things together so that we're coming up with like a coherent vision for the next couple of releases. So yeah, so far it's been a lot on the easy and making dashboard authoring easier. And now we're kind of, I don't want to say like going away from this because it's a really important aspect, but kind of like switching our angle a little bit and kind of helping on the adoption side. So if you note, like those 3 features that we asked you about are more on the adoption side, like, right, how to make it easier to style your dashboard and maintain them and create them and kind of like drive the adoption also of your end users, right? Like, oh, because we do hear often people say, well, my end users would love to be able to like have a title that's bold, and they don't understand why that's not available in your product. So that's also something we try to keep into account.
That's great. So are all these 3 features that we're looking at here something that we can expect in the future?
Yes, I do think so, and I can hopefully safely say so. I would like them to be. So, and since I do have some opinion and weight in those decisions, I truly hope they will. So the copy paste is something it's kind of like funny like stories that my wife, like when she asked me like about product and what I do, she's like, oh, like you guys don't even have copy pasting, like, and she's like almost laughing at me. But on jokes aside, I do think it would add tremendous value and it would kind of make sense, you know, around components. Like reusability is a thing that we touched on, and when we did touch on it, that's when people were like, hey, you know, copy pasting could be done across apps, and that would be like huge. It would really help us in kind of like fast starting that journey, right? Again, like making it easier to reuse elements you've created. So I do think it would help. And then yeah, text markup, it's come up like many times on many customer calls, and theming also. I do think those are like 3 great adoption features, and they're definitely in the top 3, in the like the top 10 requested from our customers. So I want us to deliver on those 3. So kind of answering all the questions I saw earlier, like we want them all. Like yes, no, that you guys do want them all. Like obviously, I love us to deliver all of them as well. As just a matter of kind of prioritizing the ones that makes the most sense, and also like weighting how much value for how much effort it actually requires, right? Because like a good instance of this is when we were talking about like font markup, right? Like it's bold and italic. But then if we go kind of down that path, it kind of we can open up a lot of possibilities, right? Like talking about like a rich text editor and adding like alignment and bullet points and all of those things, like that's a much bigger effort, right? And does it add more value, or people do people actually care mostly about having bold, which is something that is arguable.
Yeah. So when just going back to the component one, there was a question here around whether or not you considered performance as an impact around this. So adding multiple components, would that have an impact on the dashboard performance?
Yes, that's a really good question. So yes, we are considering performance, obviously. So the main thing that we've considered for now is we wanted to make sure that whether or not you actually start using components or not, like it shouldn't have an impact on your current dashboards. The second part, which is kind of like, you know, you think that it's, of course, like that should be that way, but we need to make sure that it was. And then, yes, we are aware that it will for sure have performance and a performance impact if you start using components a lot, which is why we've started implementing restrictions, obviously, on it. So the number of components that you'll be able to use on the dashboard is going to be limited to 10. And don't quote me on this because we're still like figuring things out before we're releasing it. But yeah, it should be 10. And then the number of pages per component. This one is still up for debate whether or not we want to limit it. We do think limiting it at first to get like a good feedback on the performance and kind of see how it's going would be better. And then like if we see that and if we have when we will have time also to work on the performance improvements for the overall dashboard and components, we'll be able to raise those numbers. But yeah, we're completely taking it into account. We don't want to allow a crazy number of components to be added to a dashboard with like 20 pages each. I mean, it's just going to go exponentially, right? So don't worry.
That's good to know. It's good to know. And also, I mean, we did show the forward-looking statement slide, so, and nothing is general available, so everything can change, right? There's another follow-up question around, well, first of all, saying that the components looks great, as also the copy paste, but some sort of format copier would also be great across the widget in a dashboard. And I was just kind of thinking if you wanted to maybe elaborate on the chart themes, because maybe that's actually something that can help this specific question.
Yeah, so I've definitely heard that before, like kind of like a Word or Excel, so like be able to copy the style over from like a widget to another or query to another. So it is, you're not the only person thinking about this, and it's something I've heard. I do think it's really different from like the copy pasting I was talking about, and because I do want to separate those two, don't want to like mix them. If one thing that we're definitely looking at as part of the copy pasting is that it would carry the style of the widget you've copied. So if you had set up some like conditional formatting, it should be carried as well. And then talking about the theming, what we are considering at first would be chart theming. So by that, it's not like being able to control the different colors of your charts, right? And doing that not at a chart level because or a widget level because it's currently available, but actually doing it at a dashboard level where you would have a central place, and you could think of it like where you have your dashboard properties and you control like the grid layout, having like a dashboard theme, and you can apply to every chart that you have on your dashboard. So that's more what we were thinking about. And additionally to this, we would like also to add the ability to have custom themes, because today you can't really decide what colors get inputted unless you start doing conditional formatting, obviously. But yeah, being able to have your custom theme and that you can apply to every chart in your dashboard in one place. I do think those would be two tremendous steps forward to help with the whole theming aspect, and something I've heard a lot as well.
I can only second that from all the academies that I've hosted, that this is one of the typical questions that I get, and I'm sure our experts would agree on that as well. And hopefully that answers the question from the chat around you know, the option to actually go ahead and copy paste or use chart themes, however we want to talk about it. So we are almost at the end, but I do want to ask one final question. So lately, we've seen some enhancements in the dashboard designer, and I know it's not all features that you're responsible. There are more than one PM for the dashboard designer, if people were not aware. But we've seen, for instance, Snowflake enhancements, and we've seen Salesforce Direct enhancement that we can be able to, you know, add all this information directly into our dashboard. We've also heard some sneak peek around Tableau, and more synergy between Tableau and Tableau CRM now, and bringing that data together. Is there any kind of synergies that you can highlight for us that you're working on at this point in time around bringing more data in and more components?
Yeah, for sure. So as you said, so this is definitely this is definitely touching like area that I'm less familiar with. So I have more info, but definitely don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'll be able to answer with like probably more information around those. But around the Tableau part, I definitely can talk a bit more. So the dashboard component that I did a quick demo of is actually part of a bigger initiative which is just called Components. And as part of this, there are two other ones that we've been kind of working on. So another team is working on adding the Lightning Web components. So in Lightning, you're able to kind of develop your web components. And so you would be able through this solution to actually embed those inside of the EA Studio. So that's the first part. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's going in beta or pilot in the spring 21. So coming up very shortly. And then the other component that we've been kind of talking about is Tableau component. So obviously there's a lot of initiative around like how can we merge our tool, and I probably shouldn't say merge our tools, but how can we combine some of the aspects and integrate ourselves into each other in different areas of the product. So you've probably seen that we've integrated ED into Tableau, or some aspects of ED into Tableau. So one thing that we're thinking on our end is how could we integrate a Tableau visualization into EA? And so one idea that obviously popped up when we were thinking about components is, what if we could add a Tableau viz inside of one of those components, right? So it would be the same widget, but just having the ability to kind of import a viz from Tableau, right? So that's one around the Tableau part. And then coming back to your question around more like EA Direct and Salesforce Direct, I know there has been a lot of work done around data source linking and making sure that you're able to connect things together. So because right now, like some of those features, they were kind of imported inside of your dashboard, but they were kind of on their own, and they couldn't really interact with the rest of it. So that's something that we've been focusing on, is making it capable of interacting with the rest of the dashboard and creating those rich interactions. So a lot of work around this on data source linking, also on global filters and just embedded filters, just like again making sure it exists inside of your dashboard, and then just overall looking at coming to feature parity for Snowflake Direct. So I know the team that Anirudh is leading is working on this and looking at the other data sources that we will be looking to support. So there's no decisions yet into like which ones would be the next ones after Snowflake, but they're looking at what he had shared is they're looking at Redshift, BigQuery, but there's no plan for now or no decision. I would definitely be interested actually to get you guys' feedback on this. If you have an opinion and kind of share why, that'd be great feedback for him. And yeah.
Amazing. Well, I think this is kind of wrapping up the 20 minutes. It went a little bit over, but I think everybody would benefit from hearing what's coming up. It looks like the product team is extremely busy in getting some amazing features to all of us so we can make our dashboards even more insightful and dazzling, as the word we've been using here. So thank you so much, Arthur, for sharing all your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And so I guess what is left to be said is just thank you to everybody that attended. Thank you to Radhika for doing the demo, for our panel, Rita, Daniel, and Cristina, for Arthur, you as well, to share what's coming up on the roadmap. Really appreciate all your time.